Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we'll be talking about a lot of things. So first off, the very cold air that is going to occur for the next really half month, I would say. The potential for a snowstorm across the Northeast, the Midwest, and the one that is going right now across the West. And then we will be also going over many more snow chances. There are several throughout the longer range. So buckle up, we have a lot to talk about. I'll try keeping this video a bit shorter than my previous ones. They have been getting a bit long. Before we do, if you guys would like to support this channel, you could do so by subscribing. Consider doing that. Obviously not now, whenever you would feel free to do that. And liking the video also helps. Otherwise, let's get into this. Okay, so first off, I want to look at the National Weather Service map. Notice that we have a lot of advisories, warnings, watches, I mean, literally everything, right? Notice these colors right here, they kind of pop out, but they're also a bit faded. Those are wind chill warnings and wind chill watches and wind chill advisories. Very, very cold air. Obviously, the colder you go the colder air will be to the north as the further north you go. Notice we have winter storm warnings across Montana into portions of Wyoming and Idaho. This is obviously to do with one of our pieces that will potentially evolve into a potentially significant system across the Northeast this weekend. Again, it doesn't look to be a blockbuster monster, but many locations could see well over half a foot of snow. Large metropolitan areas. Notice the temperatures right for the whole state of Montana here. Talking about the Arctic front passage time frame, and these are the warnings and watches. And, stay safe. There's a lot of avalanche warnings posted as well, and that's to do with that very dry, fluffy snow and obviously the mountains. All right, notice that we do have warnings and watches, warnings and advisories across Nebraska into Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, right? These are to do with our first piece of energy that will provide snow for the Northeast, and then we have a southern one that will provide some rain. Also, I do want to mention we have a lot of lake effect across Michigan and the UP of Michigan, so the lower peninsula and the upper peninsula. Now I know what to call this. I've definitely heard that before, but for some reason during that video it did not come to mind. The snow has been pretty consistent. Notice that these snow bands are horizontally axis, so they're not, each given one isn't too significantly prolonged over one area. But notice that if it does set up, look at that heavy snow, blowing snow, freezing fog. The freezing fog is probably not that big of a deal. They always seem to put that with whenever it's snowing, the National Weather Service. Just take a quick look at the Grand Rapids forecast area. The lakes will provide a lot of snow for you. 2 inches today, right? Less than 1 inch tomorrow. Another inch on Sunday night. And then look at the forecast. There's a chance of snow pretty on and off throughout the rest of the week. And again, probably more than 2 inches has already fallen, and it will continue falling there. And look at that off the more horizontally accessed lakes, right? Erie and Ontario, there could be some more significant snowfall. Hence, that lake effect snow warning. Notice that we do have many locations like Buffalo, Watertown, potentially 12 to 18 inches. So definitely a good event, and more snow for Buffalo, which is running, as far as I'm checked last time, slightly below average, if not quite a bit. All right, let's get into the models. So I showed you the advisories, warnings, right? I'll show you individual snowfall amounts from the National Weather Service. Let's start talking about this. So I'll show you a few models. The GFS was one of the models that kind of wanted this system to push it onshore and showed a nor'easter, and that seemed to be true. So the GFS did not do a bad job with this system whatsoever. Notice here's our system from yesterday that is still spiraling very strong winds across much of the Midwest, especially the Great Lakes, and obviously spotting that lake effect snow. Notice that this is our energy, our little piece. This is as of 6 p.m., so it's still snowing across Montana, Wyoming, into Idaho, Colorado, and Salt Lake, and Utah. Notice this pretty quickly moves out, but I do want to say that for the amounts, a lot of folks will probably go to this website and look at the amounts and look at the 10-to-1 snowfall ratio. That is not going to be accurate, and probably could not be any more inaccurate than at this time of the year, or with this Arctic air. So look at this, right? There's winter storm warnings issued for Nebraska, meaning 6 inches plus. If you were to look at that, you would be, a well-seasoned weather model observer would look at that and say, how is that going to produce winter storm warning criteria? I mean, it's moisture-starved. It doesn't have that much lift. There is going to be some banding. And again, it's all because of their snowfall ratio. So notice, this passes through. Look at that. According to the GFS, much of Missouri gets snow. You've been missing out this year so far. While this won't be a blockbuster, towards Kansas City itself may potentially reach up to 4 to 6 inches. It's not out of the question. And areas south will obviously see a bit less snow, as the snowfall ratios will be closer to a 10 to 1, and this isn't an overly powerful system. Notice, though, it brings a lot of widespread light snow into Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, right? But again, if you were to look at this, you would assume, wow, maybe an inch or two. With the snowfall ratios, it could be close to 6 inches across central Illinois. Now, they're not showing that, the National Weather Service, really, because that may be towards the higher end of things. I said that so I could, really for the sake of presentation, to show you that how much of a difference that can make. But 6 inches isn't out of the question for areas in Illinois and Missouri. Notice, we start seeing these two pieces combine, right? And look, a lot of snow. Ohio, right? Detroit, very light snow. This won't be significant. And in terms of the water content that will produce, this will produce, it's not going to be a lot. Fluffy, it will be for sure. Okay, notice, New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, right? Rhode Island, Massachusetts, into Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine. Look at that. This GFS actually intensifies it very, very significantly. It does bring snow for these areas, right? It's not going to be a blockbuster, but look, if this, for example, takes a shift a bit more, say, instead of going something, let me turn on my drawing tool, like that, it does something more like this, Maine and maybe portions of New Hampshire and extreme northern Massachusetts could end up seeing some higher amounts, potentially very high amounts. Again, at 54 hours out, most likely a change like that isn't too likely. But I mean, look at that. It doesn't really take that much of a change. Notice, after that system passes through, we have a lot more storm chances. I just want to show you the GFS. Look at that. I mean, 2 days after, again, the light snow for the Midwest into the Northeast potentially. Some sort of snow event across Kentucky, the southern Indiana, Ohio area. Then we start seeing another large system potentially gather. Again, if you're looking at the Northeast and you're seeing rain and you're getting sad, again, this is far out. This is just one model, and again, this is probably going to change. Look at that, very, very cold air. You can see that circle. That is pretty much a piece of the polar vortex, 747 millibars, or sorry, 747 in terms of the line. So, in other words, 540 is the freezing line. Every line, I think, is a certain amount of degrees. So, simply put, very, very cold air right there, centering across the North Dakota area. Whether or not it will be this extreme, the GFS definitely goes extreme on this. But look at that. It shows snow into northern Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi. And that's because of this very cold air that will be plentiful at this time. Notice, I mean, it just continues this on and on and on. So let's go back now. Let's not get too distracted and show you the snowfall from this first event, stopping it at around early Monday morning. Total snowfall. If you were to look at this, you'd be like, wow, not that exciting. Give me a second here. This is assuming a 10 to 1 snowfall ratio. A lot of this will be higher. You can see Nebraska, some locations potentially picking up 9 inches, assuming a 10 to 1 ratio, which will be probably higher. So, again, the energy is there. And look at that, 2 to 3 inches adjusted, probably 3 to 4 inches. And for that, I actually want to go to the GFS. Why am I trying to adjust them in my head while I could just show them to you with this GFS? So again, the same model run, just a different website that actually shows us the Kuchera total snowfall, which is again estimated with the cold temperatures how much snow it will take up. All right, early Monday morning, this is how much snow they're showing. Now, the GFS does not show ridiculous amounts for the Northeast. Again, I said this wouldn't be a blockbuster, but for newer areas this winter, Cape Cod hasn't seen much snow because of a lot of the systems kind of brought rain. You could see easily up to 9, 8 inches. Notice New York City, 4 or 5 inches. Again, I think there could be some much higher amounts there. Pennsylvania, 4 or 5 inches. Again, I think that's a bit underplayed by the GFS. The GFS takes it out very quickly, but it's very broad area. Notice right there, right into Nebraska, it peaks it out. But right there, that very hot spot starts showing snowfall from another storm, which occurs into Monday and Tuesday, and you can see continuous spreading. Even if the system underperforms and does what the GFS is showing, I mean, just look at the future, right? A ton of chances. So don't get too unexcited. Let me just scan over some of these. Yeah, areas with lake effect, that would be a monster. Now, let's go back to okay, so we were looking at the GFS. Let me show you what the Canadian shows, and I'll be quick about this because a lot of people just show one model and think that's going to be good. For that, you could just watch the the news. You could just go to the news station and turn on the TV if you wanted that thing. Again, on here I go detailed, but I show you a lot of models. Notice regarding the Canadian stopping at early Monday morning, you can see definitely not bad amounts for Nebraska, even assuming a 10-to-1 inch ratio. And look at that for the Northeast, assuming a 10-to-1 inch ratio, not bad amounts. Now, while the Kuchera, I should have mentioned this probably a bit earlier. The Kuchera is going to be more accurate for this event. You know, the Northeast, where the coastal areas are, it won't be a ridiculous ratio. Say in Illinois or southern Wisconsin or even central Iowa, these snowfall ratios could be at 20 to 30 to 1. So 30 inches of snow will be equivalent to 1 inch of water because of how fluffy and dry and how much air there will be in between each snowflake. The Northeast probably more closer to a 15, so a 1.5 multiplication of what you see here. Again, the Canadian is definitely more of an aggressive scenario, and with this right here across northern Missouri, that would probably be close to 5-6 inches. Here there will be a bit more colder air than across the coasts. And for the sake of not confusing you anymore, let me show you the Canadian model. I think honestly I'll just stay on this website because the Kuchera will be more accurate on here. Alright, so notice this is the Canadian, right? Look what it shows in terms of the snowfall. You can see decent amounts across Nebraska, right, into Iowa, Missouri. Look at that right there. Into 7 inches, 6 inches plus into Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. And then into Virginia, you know, even Tennessee, not bad amounts. And I'll show you what the National Weather Service thinks in just a minute. For Illinois, 3 to 5 inches is possible, if not likely. Again, these will probably be even higher than what the GDPS shows. Let's take a look at another model. European. Did a pretty good job with this system. Sorry, that's the snowpack. Don't get too excited there. It's a snowpack that's currently on the ground. European, notice what it shows. Decent snow amounts, especially out by Nantucket, right, Cape Cod, but definitely some of these 6-inch amounts potentially reaching into the Northeast. This is assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, which again probably will be a bit more accurate for the coastal areas, but way less accurate for Nebraska. You know, 4 inches, apply the Kuchera, it will probably be closer to 8, if not 12 inches. And notice, Montana, Idaho, right, Wyoming, not bad amounts either. It will be very, very fluffy, obviously increasing the avalanche warnings. And just like all the other models, it keeps it active. By the way, this system, once it's out of the Northeast, it could bring some pretty strong amounts into southern Atlantic Canada. And I know I do have Canadian viewers, so watch out for that. Nothing for the large cities, the main 4 huge cities across Ontario into Quebec. But I do want to say that, you know, in the longer range, snow looks pretty likely. And you can see that's a European, assuming a 10-to-1, which again probably is an underestimate. I'm looking at Nevada, also seeing good amounts. You know, Utah, Colorado, not bad for sure. Even Oklahoma, look at that. So you can see there's so much stuff to talk about. It's hard to make a 20-minute video or 20-minute or less video, right? So I showed you a lot of models. I'll show you a few more. RDPS, what it shows with the latest model run. Stopping it at around early Monday. Notice it does show a bit more into Virginia. So these deviations, and with the pattern like we have going on right now, these type of systems are hard to predict. There's going to be a lot of variation. The coastal areas, I would say, is probably typical, right? Typical unpredictability, which is usually pretty high. But even for the Midwest, I think it will be higher because of the nature of this snowfall. So, for example, if this switches directions, either goes north or south a bit more than expected, one location may get an additional inch or 2 of snow just within an hour because of how fluffy this will be falling. And again, that could make a pretty big difference, an inch or 2. And honestly, regarding the nature of these systems that come from the north are notoriously hard to predict. While, yes, obviously, you know, they don't hold a candle to nor'easters where you have the rain, snow, the warm air. For being as simple as it may seem that, oh, it's just tracking from the north, they sometimes do have pockets of unexpectedly heavy snow. And historically, they have overperformed a bit rather than underperformed. So the National Weather Service is well aware of that. They said that themselves. This is not something I'm taking out of my own observations, which some people may discredit a bit more easily, which makes sense. But again, the National Weather Service agrees. A lot of these systems have been underproduced in the past. So this is what the Canadian high res, if you will, shows. You could see decent amounts of snow. This is through now Monday, Tuesday, and you can see it adds on snow pretty quickly as we go into the future. That's assuming a 10-to-1 in terms of Kuchera. You can see obviously these amounts will be higher. You can see towards Nebraska, especially increasing in amounts. Definitely, you can see it's showing a lower ratio of snow across Virginia. then 10 to 1, and that makes sense as it will be converting from rain to snow. Though up here, I would say a 10 to 1, is reasonable, and I think 3 inches is underestimate. Notice that across Nebraska, though, it really helps out that Kuchera ratio. Okay, that's what it shows. I do want to show you one more model regarding the system. That's the HER. I think the HER model has done a very good job in past systems, and unfortunately, it only goes out to around, the latest model run that goes out to 48 hours is pretty old. I will show you one that goes out to 18 hours, just to show you the snow that it predicts across Nebraska. I think that's pretty realistic. Many amounts getting over, or many cities getting over 6 inches. And if I were to take a look at the surface and precip, I'm not sure if it's even fully pulled away from Nebraska at that point. Well, for the most part. But you can see this is tiny, right? This looks miserable, but it could drop up to 7 inches very quickly, and you can see it angles it towards the north into potentially even northern Iowa. Regarding the model run that goes out very far out, again, it's pretty old in the sense that it's 6 hours old, so it's still relatively new, but, not the newest with these high-res models that a lot of them come out every hour or every couple of hours. Notice, right, it takes it, look at that, Kansas City gets on a good dose of snow. Further to the north, that looks like light snow, and it will be, but it will be fluffy. Wind whipped as well to a certain extent, and notice these two start combining energies, the southern piece and the northern piece. And in terms of total snowfall from the HER using the Kuchera ratio, this is what it shows out of this system. You can see it's definitely not bad. I mean, we have amounts across Nebraska getting towards the double digits. Kansas City potentially 6-7 inches. According to this model, which again, maybe a bit overdoing some things, but it has done a pretty good job with the last few systems. Look at that. Northern Illinois only getting a 7-hour period of snow, but almost an inch per hour. Not because it's falling intensely, if you will. Just, it's fluffy. It's accumulating. It's like feathers. It's not marbles falling, which could be sleet. It's feathers. Obviously, it would accumulate way more. Now, if you were to squash it down, it will, go back down quite more. And that makes sense. And notice it starts showing some decent amounts across the northeast. So a lot of variation still a bit. Notice very high amounts where the Kuchera is very applicable, over 18, 17 inches in some locations. So that's the first system. Let's quickly go to the National Weather Service. Virginia, what do they expect? This is what you're expecting through this event. Notice 5, 4, 6 inches. Again, obviously higher amounts towards the mountains, less towards the beaches. You can see pretty good amounts though. Roanoke 4 inches, Richmond 3 inches, maybe a bit higher. Again, this is still in the making, right? Let's take a look at this now. Pennsylvania. Look at that. Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania office, State College, if you will, has it at 8 inches. So, decent amounts. Obviously, almost nothing to the north from the system. But I do want to say lake effect will be an issue for the next couple of days, especially through today and tonight. Delaware. Regarding snowfall, this is what they're showing. You could see more snow potentially than what you got with the first system, which wasn't that much. Look at that. Dover, 7. Wilmington, 6. So the NWS is definitely factoring in those snowfall ratios. New Jersey as a whole state, look at that. Find your location. Obviously, less amounts towards the coast, but even much further south than with previous systems like Vineland, 8 inches, right? Medford, 7. Toms River, 7. New York City, probably 7 or 8. Maryland, Washington, D.C., right? Look at that. Find your location. Lesser amounts here, but again, it wouldn't be too surprised to see a bit more snow. And up here, 4, 5, 6 inches, not out of the question. And let's keep moving forward. Boston, further to the north. You can see this is what they're showing. This, may not be fully done by the 8th. I actually don't even know exactly when the timeline exactly of this is to move out of here, but this is what they're showing through the 7th, through the 8th. You can see not bad amounts. Oak Bluffs, Nantucket, Plymouth, 6, 7 inches. Again, a lot of these places didn't see snow with the last events. They will now. You can see that there is quite a bit of room for an overperformance, but it's not looking too likely for that. Look at Kansas City, expected snowfall, 4 inches, right? Much of northern Missouri, over 5, 6 inches. Further to the south, still not that bad, 3 to 4 inches. And to the north, 7, 8 inches. What is confusing a bit is, look at this. Missouri shows 6 inches plus, or the Kansas City office shows 6 inches plus into Iowa. But if you're to look at Iowa, it doesn't show that. Regardless, this color is in the 4 to 6 inch range. So I just do want to say that, if I were to give an estimate for these locations, 4 to 8 inches is appropriate. Des Moines, Iowa, 1 to 3. Further to the north, there may be a sharper cutoff. But you know, if this moves just a bit further to the north, Waterloo with 2 hours of snow could get 2 inches. So you know, definitely the potential for that is there. You shouldn't be seeing 6 inches if you're forecasted for 1 inch. That type of overperformance is not really going to happen with this system. So I just want to let you know. Going back to the Northeast, this is event total predicted for New York City. You can see Long Island, especially the coastal areas, especially very far out, could get the max with this event. 8 inches, right? NYC 6, JFK 6, 7. So not bad amounts. You know, you'll take that any day. The snow lovers, I should add. This is the high end amounts. You can see, really, I mean, a lot of the amounts just stay the same. They don't really think it will be overperforming, or they don't think there's a lot of room for overperforming, which makes sense. This is for the South Carolina, North Carolina, Asheville, I think, office, Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Notice not much for South Carolina, but maybe a bit of snow into Greenville, say, you know, definitely not out of the question, Clemson. But North Carolina, you could see higher amounts as it's more elevated and further to the north. In terms of the Kentucky state, you could see some amounts of snow, 1 to 3, not miserable, but in the grand scope of things, not that significant. Now, I did want to find or look at Tennessee's office, or I should say, Eastern Tennessee. You can see that's not bad amounts. Find your location, right? The elevated areas further into the mountains. Definitely some good amounts, 3 to 4 inches of snow. And obviously, there are winter storm watches, maybe well into Georgia. In terms of snowfall for northern Georgia, it doesn't look significant, right? But, you know, it's potentially could get into far northern Georgia, even a few inches. And if I were just to click on, say, northern Virginia and click on Luray, just random location, 1 to 3, 1 to 3. So again, it's not going to be a massive winter storm, but it could overperform. The chances are there. And that's basically all I wanted to cover. So just a quick recap at the end of this video. A lot of cold air is coming. You know, we have a very potentially long area, a long prolonged period of cold on our way. Northwest Montana, right? Wyoming, expect some snow today into tomorrow, early in the day, especially early into tonight. Nebraska, you know, Missouri, Kansas, Iowa, expect some snow into central Illinois. And this moves into, say, Indiana, Illinois, Chicago, I should say, southern Michigan, northern Ohio, any of these areas. Probably by tomorrow midday, exiting late in the evening, and then pushing into the Northeast onto Sunday and into Monday, into very far up into the Northeast. But again, changes will be coming. And then after that, cold remains and more snow chances, storm chances. I do want to show you that the model viewers, this is the GFS ensemble family. Look what they show with that first system, right? Moisture starved, tomorrow's system, I should add. And you know, some of these locations may see 3 to 4 according to the National Weather Service. So they are underplaying some of these amounts. But notice, I mean, Monday, Tuesday, our next chance of snow. Wednesday into Thursday, another potential chance. And if this were to occur at a high ratio snowfall event, this is assuming a 10 to 1. Look at that. Northern Missouri, 15 inches, assuming a 10 to 1. We could easily potentially double that if there's a 30 to 1 ratio. Maybe 30 inches. Again, if that were to occur, which it's not likely, but it's a possibility nonetheless. And I know I said I wouldn't go over 20 minutes, but I am over 20 minutes. However, I just want to quickly show you that. Notice a lot of snow in the future as well, adding on. So really good chances, right? And I just chose the Midwest, Indiana, Illinois area here because I just want to exemplify how much snow could still fall. I could zoom out and show you, say, the East Coast, which will, I think, be a very large area, very zoomed out. Yeah, of course. Regardless, notice what they show. Just find your location. A lot of pinks, a lot of purples, which is quite a bit. Notice some models like that, I don't know if you can see that, are showing over 30 inches across the coastal area. So a lot of snow. And in terms of cold, it will be cold, 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 cold. I mean, really cold. Quickly, take a look at the GEFS ensembles. And take a look at the 2-meter temperature anomaly. So this is a bunch of models averaged out. This is 51 or 31 members. Look, I mean, the south may stay a bit warm, but potentially dipping down into the south with very cold temperatures, which could be potentially very damaging and costly and deadly for plants, I should say, deadly. If you have vegetation, I mean, it could be deadly for humans as well, potentially, especially to the north. But here it's more of an agricultural loss potential. Notice that this air sticks around. I mean, we are now into late February and it's still below average. favorite. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Consider liking, consider watching, consider whatever. You know the rest. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.